Bach's Brandenburg Concerto No. 5 is structured using ternary form. Ternary form is a structure made up of three sections, A, B, A, with those two sections, contrasting sections, beginning with A, a familiar section, and then a contrasting section in the middle, and then going back to A again. Now, within that, we've got some other structures. So, as well as ternary form, you need to remember fugue and then ritornello. So the A sections are structured in fugal form, and then our B section is a ritornello structure. So what is a fugue? Well, a fugue is a polyphonic structure which was prevalent in the Baroque era, and Bach was a master at writing fugues. He's famous for it. You may remember his work of 48 preludes and fugues. This was called the Well-Tempered Clavier. So what is a fugue? Well, it begins with a single melody line, often for just a few bars, two to three or four bars of melody, single line. And this is known as the subject. After this, you'll then get answers. And so you'll have one part playing that subject, and then this will be answered in another part. Now, depending on the instrumentation, you'll hear that in another instrument, or if in the case of a fugue for piano or harpsichord, you will hear it in a different part on the same instrument. So you'll hear that subject, and then you'll get an answer, and that is often the same melody, just played in another part, or it might be the same melody but played in a different at a different pitch. So if it's played exactly the same, we call this a real answer, and this is where it's played exactly the same as the subject. If it's different, if it's played at a different pitch, then it's known as a tonal answer. Okay? As well as this, you have what's called a counter subject, which is just a different melody which sounds good alongside the subject. So in this case, the subject of Brandenburg Concerto No. 5 is this. Okay, so that's the subject, very short melody. This is immediately answered by a tonal answer. So first of all, the first subject starts on a violin. We hear that in violin. And then the tonal answer comes 2 bars later on the flute. So it's played, it sounds exactly the same. The difference is it starts higher, so it's a tonal answer. It's not the same notes. Okay, so we've got the violin. Okay, and then the flute. So I'll see if I can play that together. Okay, so that's the beginning. We've got our subject on the violin, and then while the violin is still playing, we get the flute playing the same subject, but it's an answer, and it's a tonal answer because it's in a different key. It's in a different pitch, sorry. While the flute then continues to play the subject, the violin plays a counter subject, and that counter subject sounds like this. Okay, so that goes alongside the subject, okay? And that goes on, and then in bar 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, the harpsichord comes in. Our third soloist comes in with another answer, this time a real answer. And then it plays in the right hand a tonal answer, just like the flute did. And then it continues with the counter subject. And then it goes off on some very tricky scalic movement. something like that. Okay, so we've got subject at the very beginning on the violin, then the solo violin, then the tonal answer with the flute, and then later in bar 9 we've got a real answer in the left hand of the harpsichord and then a tonal answer in the right hand of the harpsichord. And this continues. They keep kind of swapping these subjects, and you can hear this theme coming through again and again throughout. So that is a fugue, and that's how section A opens. We then get to section B, and this is structured as a ritornello. So section B starts in bar 79, and it's in a different key. It's in a minor key, in a relative minor, B minor, and it sounds like this. Okay, so that's the first episode. It's got a tonic pedal in B minor. That's played by the cello and the harpsichord. And we've got the flute playing the melody up here. Okay, this goes on to bar 87, where we've got our first ritornello, which is a kind of little passage which links to the next episode. So this linking passage, the ritornello, goes like this. Okay, so that's the first ritornello, and that leads into the next episode, which is played on solo violin with another pedal note on the tonic B. So this time with the violin, sounds like this. Okay, and then another ritornello, very similar to the first, and then it modulates down to F sharp minor now, with the harpsichord having the melody in this episode, and this sounds like this. Okay, so after that we've got more episodes and ritornello which go back and forth, modulating to A major, then F sharp minor, and then B minor again. So that sums up the B section. After that, we go back to section A in exactly the same way, another fugue structure, and it's an exact copy of section A the first time we heard it.